brought us here and took us all around the world. Music's it's the strangest of the arts, because as soon as it's here, it's gone. It's very ethereal, and yet it has the power to stir emotions that run very deep. And for that, I'm very thankful that we're part of that business. Not that it's really a business; it's a life. And I think it's one of the true good messages in a troubled world. Music soothes hearts.
I agree with everything you said except the part about it. When you play it, it's going. That was before YouTube. Well, Purple records in the way that I think very similarly to the same way since the 60s, which is, here's the song, let's all play it, let's get it together, and then whatever we have to do to make it sound good in the studio. But I think a lot of new artists, it's changed the way that they write, and the fact that you don't need to have a band before you finish a recording. In fact, as a side musician, a lot of the projects I play on, the parts are emailed to me. And I never even see the people on the recordings. So that's way different.
I'm talking about our circumstances, how we do things. There are two things I think about. You can think of a lot of people who only put in 1 hour practice and become global celebrities. And you can think of that, the way things are chosen now, and you can take Bob Dylan and Deep Purple and the Rolling Stones or whatever, they wouldn't have got past the Village Hall auditions if that program had been going years ago, because we don't conform to the expectations of the business, which is exactly why we managed to get on so well. And I think the idea of that 10,000 hours of practice is quite true, actually, if you want to go that route. Mind you, we didn't see it that way in the early days, because every street had a band, and it was the social thing to do. And it was a good way of breaking out of the mundane existence of ordinary life. And football wasn't an opportunity then. The only other thing was boxing, I think. And we used to steal the guitar player from the band next door because he had an amplifier or 6 strings, and
or a bus.
On the drummer because he had a car or a van. But those things evolved from that, and the music became absolutely the important thing. So, the way it's perceived is entirely it's a joke, really, but because it's a generalization and every band is different.
When you're creating a new piece of music or a new piece of art or a new painting, you've got nothing. It has to come from within you. Now that takes time. It just can't just be like that immediately. So you need these serious rehearsal times, creative times, and it is professional. Even when you're kids, you don't realise you're being professional, but you are. Because there's no other way of getting there. You can't just turn up and say, well, that's 20 minutes later you got it. It has to be done properly. So the conception of what you think it is so far removed from the truth.
There was an amazing programme on the BBC at the weekend about celebrating 50 years since Please Please Me. The album came out. And they had one of the tape-ups reminiscing about the Abbey Road sessions. The Beatles arrived at 11, and by 1 o'clock they got 2 songs. And George Martin said, right, lunch, and they all went off to the pub. And they're sitting in the pub going, where's the band gone? Oh, they must have gone somewhere else. Anyway, they went back to Abbey Road at 2 o'clock after lunch, and there were the Beatles practicing. They hadn't gone out. They just stayed where they were and working on the next song. Working. And this guy said, everyone was taken aback. Were quite shocked. That the Beatles had just stayed there and just kept playing.
Because yeah, come on.
Yeah.
And they had the Hamburg thing. Did you do something similar early in your career, where you went away and all played together and you built
In different bands, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a stereotype problem that most people think that rock stars throw televisions out of hotel room windows and stay up all night. Well, it's true, but not every night.
Paradoxically, once we've gone to all that effort and put all our skill and talent together to write a piece of music, we go out and destroy it every night on stage.
I still love the visceral feel and just the raw animal part of rock and roll. But, you know, for 48 years, I practiced every single day and spent at least some hours of every single day for 48 years trying to keep the science of keeping my technique up. And which is odd since 48 years, since I'm only 29 years old.
Well, it's impossible now to do it this way because there's so much of it. It's everyone's got 5 minutes and that's it. It's all over anyway.
There's no time. There's no time.
It's the end of an era anyway. It's something else will happen next. It's something entirely different. Music means something different now, right from the very beginning. Don't get me wrong, there are just as many, probably even more talented people, kids, than there ever were, but there's no structure in place now. It's all been broken down, and there are none of the orchestral, blues, soul, folk, jazz, big band, swing roots anymore because they were all diluted like homeopathy into bands like Deep Purple and Black Sabbath, and the following generation went along and studied those bands instead of studying the original influences, and consequently it's just all become a series of statements. And then in '82 everything became digitized. So I see this as the end of an era. It's a bit like Frank Sinatra. After that era, then rock and roll, the electric guitar came along and everything changed, and it's like the end of great periods of literature and painting and whatever. Pop music has been very important, and we're one part of it. But I think it'll change in its aspect now. So to talk about bands in the future and how they would go about it or how they would succeed, I think will be something that we don't have the words for. It's a new generation, a new way, and I don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be as it was before, that's for sure. I don't think fame and fortune has much to do with it. It's a chance to get to play with your heroes. I remember a lot of when that sort of thing first came along, you'd raise money for charity, but really it was much more important for me to have an afternoon playing football with George Best. And the byproduct of that was raising a lot of money for a good cause. I don't think we're as altruistic as it's made out.
Everybody approaches those endeavours differently. You know, some people make a big noise about it, some people keep it very quiet. And that's the way it should be. You know, if you're going to donate $1 million or something, you want everybody to know about it, well, fair enough, you know, you donated $1 million. But if you want to donate that $1 million and keep quiet, then that's fair too, you know. So trying to make a one-size-fits-all comment on that is really difficult.
The other side of that is the difficulty is when you're trying to raise a lot of money, you've got to use some kind of celebrity status. So you've got to have your face out there. Otherwise, it's pointless being there. So as
long as you get the end product, it doesn't matter.
It's difficult when you divide your time between lots of these things and you're a member of a fundraising organisation, for example, that does this week and that next week or whatever. So I think it's far better to find one cause for yourself and that you believe in and stick to it.